Which home is programmed in your GPS? I stared at his dashcam logs. For the past month, he took a detour after work every single day, driving past his ex-girlfriend's apartment. He claimed it was just on the way, but our house is on the east side, and hers is on the west side. 2 years of marriage, and his gas bills were double everyone else's. I checked the Easy Pass statements. 108 times. He drove right under her building. I confronted him with the records. He slammed his phone onto the table. Are you insane? Is driving past a building illegal now? Last week was her birthday. His car was parked in her apartment's underground garage for 4 hours. He said he was helping her move furniture. I didn't cry. I didn't make a scene. I taped the Easy Pass statement to the fridge and put on my coat. Tomorrow, drive me back to our old college campus. To the trail, where we first held hands. I had already told my lawyer to draft the divorce papers. If after walking that trail, his heart was still with me, we'd keep going. If not, then that trail would be where we parted ways. Are we going or not? What's so special about a stupid trail? Ethan sat in the driver's seat, impatiently honking the horn. In the morning, I had taped the Easy Pass statement to the fridge, asking him to take me back to our college campus. In the past, every sticky note I left on the fridge would be carefully collected by him in a wooden box. He used to say they were proof of our love. Now, that billing statement only got me a sour face and an aggressive grab of his car keys. I opened the back door and sat in the back seat. Ethan looked at me through the rear view mirror. Why are you sitting in the back? Am I your chauffeur now? I said, the passenger seat is pushed too far forward. That was Haley's habit. She was petite and always liked to push the passenger seat all the way to the front. Ethan frowned, then just adjusted back. It's not a big deal. Seeing that I didn't move, he shook his head and started the engine. The car was filled with the heavy scent of Haley's favorite perfume. My throat felt itchy, and I coughed twice. Ethan snapped immediately. What's wrong with you now? I'm allergic to heavy perfumes. You forgot. Haley rode in my car yesterday to meet a client and sprayed it. Don't be so dramatic, okay? He glanced at me through the mirror, his eyes full of annoyance, and rolled down the window. The wind rushed in, diluting the scent a bit. 3 years ago, when he first bought this car, just to pick me up from work, he put charcoal bags in the car 2 weeks in advance and wiped the leather seats with lemon water every day. Because I had told him that the smell of a new car made me sick. Back then, he wouldn't even hang any ornaments on the mirror. He said they would swing around and make me dizzy. Now, a cute little charm Haley gave him hung right from the rear view mirror. I closed my eyes. Can you take that charm down? It's making me dizzy. Why do you have so many issues today? Ethan slammed on the brakes. I lurked forward, hitting the back of the front seat. My chest throbbed with pain. I held my chest and said nothing. Ethan glanced at me again through the mirror and adjusted the AC vents to blow cold air to the back. In the past, this tiny bit of care would have made me happy for days. Now, it just felt pathetic. I looked at the barren trees outside, pulling my coat tighter. He said, Haley custom-ordered that charm for me. She said it brings good luck. It's bad luck to take it down. I rubbed my aching temples. He used to drive so smoothly, slowing down long before a red light. He was always afraid that sudden braking would make me throw up. Now, because he was in a hurry, he kept weaving in and out of lanes. With every sharp turn, my stomach churned. I said softly, slow down. I can't. Haley said her cat is having severe anxiety and is hiding under the bed. I need to finish this walk with you quickly so I can go help her. Doesn't she have a boyfriend? You know she just broke up and is in a terrible mood. Why are you picking a fight over a hurting girl? I let out a soft laugh and didn't reply. The car speakers suddenly blasted heavy metal music, Haley's favorite. My stomach felt worse and worse as the trees outside blurred past. I didn't even have the energy to ask him to turn it down. I need some loud music to stay awake. You just sleep, he said. In the past, as long as I was in the car, the playlist was strictly soft piano music. He said he didn't want to disturb my rest. Now, even my voice annoyed him. My phone vibrated. It was a text from my lawyer. Hi Avery, the divorce settlement has been sent to your email. Please review it. Right then, Ethan's phone rang too. He picked up the FaceTime call. Haley, what's wrong? Ethan, the cat still won't come out. I'm so scared. Don't worry. I'll be there as soon as I finish this routine check with Avery. A routine check. That was what he called the final walk of our 8-year relationship. Then hurry up, please. I can't do this alone. Okay, wait for me. Ethan hung up and sped up even more. I stared out the window, my eyes burning. Ethan, I called him. What now? I paused, then said, nothing. Just focus on the road. We pulled into a highway rest stop, and Ethan's phone rang again. How did you cut yourself? Don't move, I'm coming right now. He put out his cigarette, threw the door open, and hopped back into the driver's seat. Ethan, I'm not in the car yet. He didn't look back. I walked to the car, and just as my hand touched the rear door handle, the car jolted forward. The sudden movement threw me to the ground. My knee slammed against the concrete, and the pain made my vision go black. Years ago, I had sprained my ankle at this very rest stop. He had carried me on his back for over a mile to the nearest clinic, cursing himself the whole way for letting me get hurt. Back then, Ethan truly treated me like his entire world. Now, I lay on the ground right next to his car, and he didn't even bother to open his door. Ethan hit the brakes, rolled down the window, and stuck his head out, frowning deeply. "Can't you watch where you're walking? Why did you run into the car?" I sat on the ground, watching blood seep through my ripped jeans. The pain made my voice shake. "You started driving suddenly." Haley cut her hand slicing peaches. "She's bleeding a lot. I have to get back." He said this while sitting comfortably in his seat, not even unbuckling his seatbelt. I looked at him, suddenly remembering when I cut my finger chopping vegetables years ago. The cut was tiny, but his face had turned pale with fear. He ran out in the middle of the night to buy bandages and antiseptic, holding me afterward and promising he'd never let me cook again. Now, my knee was scraped raw, and he only saw me as an inconvenience. "Get in." He grabbed a handful of napkins and threw them to the back seat. "Are there any Band-Aids in the glove box?" I asked.
No.
He answered too quickly. The glove box wasn't fully closed. I could see a box of waterproof Band-Aids inside, right next to a pair of women's flat shoes. They were all prepared for Haley. Once, the passenger seat and the glove box of this car were filled with my things. Painkillers, candies, motion sickness patches, and little things he kept just in case I needed them. Now, those things were gone, replaced entirely by the existence of another woman. The space I thought securely belonged to me had been given away long ago. He was terrified Haley's feet would hurt in heels, terrified she wouldn't find a bandage for her cut, yet he wouldn't even give me a single Band-Aid. Maybe noticing my jeans turning red with blood, Ethan pulled a pack of wet wipes from his pocket and tossed them back. It was the brand I used to use. "Clean it up quickly. Don't ruin the leather. When we get there, go buy some ointment at a pharmacy yourself." Ethan drove incredibly fast, his phone screen constantly lighting up. It was flooded with messages from Haley on Snapchat. "Ethan, it hurts so bad. Where are you?" He held the steering wheel with one hand and typed with the other. "Almost there." He used to never touch his phone while driving. He used to say my safety was more important than anything. Now, the person who mattered most was already sitting in his heart. "Avery," he suddenly said, "when we get to the campus, can you just walk that trail by yourself? Haley really needs me. I'll drop you off and you can walk it. Just call me when you're done, and we can end this." End this. 8 years of love, spoken from his mouth, felt as light as dust.
No.
He glared at me through the rearview mirror, raising his voice. "Can you stop being so difficult? Ethan, you promised me. You walk this trail with me, and then we make the decision." He slammed his hand against the steering wheel.
Fine.
"We'll walk. I'll walk it with you. Just don't regret it." I looked down at the dried blood on my knee. I wouldn't regret it. The person who should regret this was never going to be me. We finally arrived at the campus. I pushed the door open, and the moment my foot touched the ground, the pain in my knee flared up. Ethan was already walking ahead, without looking back. We ran straight into Ethan's old college roommates and a few underclassmen from our department. "Whoa, Ethan. Long time no see, man. Avery, you're here too? What happened to your leg?" Ethan said casually. She wasn't looking where she was going and tripped. "That looks nasty. Ethan, you should be carrying her." Ethan didn't say a word. A guy next to them leaned in and smiled. "Ethan, Haley just posted on Snapchat earlier showing the cake you got her from her favorite bakery. You two have been close for so many years. Your friendship really never changes." As soon as he said that, the atmosphere went cold. The others glared at him. The guy realized his mistake, looked between Ethan and me, his face turning slightly pale. I stood there, my fingers tightening around my purse strap. Ethan and Haley were childhood sweethearts. Everyone knew that. Standing next to him as his wife, I felt like an unwanted intruder. Ethan didn't bother to explain. He just flicked his cigarette ash. Haley hurt her hand, so I bought her a cake to cheer her up. He said it so naturally, as if he didn't need to hide it from me at all. "Avery, don't take it personally. Ethan has always treated Haley like a little sister." One of his friends tried to smooth things over. Ethan glanced at me. She was bored at home and insisted on coming back here to walk down memory lane. I don't really have the time for this nonsense. The truth was, I had worked overtime for a week straight just to clear my schedule to accompany him back to our alma mater for the alumni homecoming preparation. But in his words, I became an idle housewife dragging him here to waste his time. The looks on his friends' faces shifted. Years ago, right in front of the restaurant next to this plaza, Ethan had knelt down and proposed to me in front of everyone. He had said Avery was the pride of his life. If anyone dared to disrespect me, he would fight them on the spot. Now, he was the one throwing my dignity into the dirt in front of these same people. Ethan. Haley ran up from behind and wrapped her arm around Ethan's. 5 years ago on this plaza, Ethan had yelled to the world that I was his destiny. Everyone who witnessed it remembered that day. Now, he looked down at Haley, all his gentleness and patience reserved for her. Watching them stand together, I suddenly realized there was nothing left to fight for. This relationship had rotted long ago. There was no going back. Why are you here? Ethan's voice softened instantly. My hand hurt, and I was scared being alone at home. Once the cat calmed down, I took an Uber over. Ethan took her hand, inspecting it closely. How could you be so careless? Didn't I tell you to wait for me at home? But I missed you, Haley said, tugging his arm playfully. Only then did she turn her eyes to me. Oh, Avery's here too. Why is your leg still bleeding? Ethan, why didn't you take Avery to get patched up? Ethan frowned. She insisted on coming here first. People around us began to whisper. Ethan probably heard them. He let go of Haley's hand and walked toward me. He didn't ask if I was in pain. He just pulled a napkin from his pocket and handed it to me. Wipe it. I didn't take it. I stepped back. No, thank you. I glanced at the arm Haley had just held, feeling a wave of nausea. You guys catch up. I'll head to the trail first. I turned and walked away. Haley called out from behind, Avery, please don't be mad. I just wanted to come see Ethan. I didn't look back. My jeans rubbed against the raw wound on my knee with every step, sending sharp jolts of pain up my leg. But I kept walking. The trail was lined with beautiful maple trees. Now that it was autumn, the ground was covered in a thick blanket of golden leaves. 8 years ago, this was where Ethan had first taken my hand. I walked to a bench halfway down the trail and sat down. I pulled a worn sketchbook from my bag. I had kept this book safe for years, terrified of ruining it. Inside were drawings of Ethan and journal entries of our years together. Once, during a storm, Ethan was so afraid the sketchbook would get wet that he held it tightly against his chest under his jacket. He ended up with a high fever and was bedridden for 3 days. Back then, he said this book held our beginning, and it was more precious than his own life. I touched the cover where he had written, Avery's personal diary. A tear fell onto my hand. Over the years, whenever things got hard, I would look at these drawings and tell myself that Ethan used to love me. But as I flipped through the faded pages now, I knew the Ethan who cherished me was dead. Footsteps sounded behind me. Ethan walked up, with Haley trailing beside him. Haley was holding 2 cups of hot coffee. Avery, have something warm to drink. No, thanks. Ethan frowned. Just take it. Haley stood in line for a long time to get this. Haley stepped forward to hand it to me, but she tripped on a root and the hot coffee splashed directly toward me. I dodged to the side. The hot coffee splashed entirely over my open sketchbook. My book. I lunged to grab it, but Ethan grabbed my arm first, pulling me back. What are you doing? Can't you see Haley got burned by the hot coffee? He grabbed Haley's hand to check it. Her skin was barely pink, but her eyes were already brimming with tears. I'm so sorry, Avery. It was an accident. I just wanted to bring you some coffee. I shook off Ethan's grip and knelt to pick up the sketchbook. The paper was soaked through, the edges turning to mush at my touch. The sketched face of Ethan was smeared with brown liquid, completely unrecognizable. It's just a cheap sketchbook. Do you have to make such a big deal out of it? He walked over, snatched the ruined sketchbook from my hands, and threw it carelessly onto the wooden bench. Haley is wearing a white dress. How is she going to meet clients later with a dirty dress? Use this book to cover the wet bench first. With that, he guided Haley to sit down. Haley glanced at the book, didn't say a word, and sat right on top of my precious sketchbook. I stood there, staring at Ethan. The book he had risked a fever to protect from the rain was now nothing more than a cushion to protect Haley's dress. The man I loved for 8 years had personally stomped our past into the mud. At this very moment, the pain in my heart vanished. It just felt completely empty. Seeing the expression on my face, Ethan's tone softened slightly. Fine, I'll buy you a couple of designer bags tomorrow to make up for the book. Satisfied. I used to wonder how he would apologize if he ever broke my heart. I never imagined he would try to pay off our memories with a couple of handbags. That single sentence burned away the last thread of my hesitation. Ethan. I unzipped my bag, pulled out the divorce papers I had printed at the campus library, and thrust them in front of him. We finished the walk. Sign it. Ethan froze. His eyes darted from the document to my face. Avery, are you done throwing a tantrum? I literally just used your sketchbook as a seat cover. I am not throwing a tantrum. I looked him dead in the eye. Ethan, I don't love you anymore. Ethan's hand, still hovering over Haley's shoulder, stiffened. He stared at the divorce papers in my hand, his face transitioning from irritation to a cold, mocking disbelief. Are you out of your mind? Avery, he laughed, though the sound was hollow. A divorce? Over a sketchbook and a cup of spilled coffee? Do you even hear yourself? Behind him, Haley gasped softly, clutching Ethan's arm tighter. Avery, please, this is all my fault. If I hadn't dropped the coffee, you wouldn't be this upset. I'll buy you a new sketchbook. I'll buy you 10 of them. Please don't do this to Ethan. Her voice was trembling, a perfect imitation of a helpless, guilt-ridden girl. In the past, her tears would make Ethan instantly defensive, turning him into her fierce protector. But today, I didn't even look at her. My eyes stayed locked on Ethan. It's not about the sketchbook, Ethan, I said, my voice shockingly calm. It's about the fact that for the past year, you've been slowly erasing me from your life to make room for her. And today, I finally let you finish the job. I pointed to the wet, ruined book beneath Haley's white dress. That book held 8 years of my youth, my love, and my patience for you. I kept it safe because I thought it mattered to us. But you used it as a rag to keep another woman's dress clean. That is exactly what you've done to our marriage. Ethan's eyes flickered. For a split second, a shadow of unease crossed his face. He looked down at the ruined book, then back up at me, his jaw tightening. You're being dramatic, Avery. It's just paper. I told you. I'll buy you whatever you want to make up for it. Stop making a scene in public. We have friends here. I don't want your money, Ethan. And I'm not making a scene. I'm leaving. I stepped forward, placed the papers on the edge of the wooden bench next to Haley, and handed him a black pen. Sign it. Let's at least end this with some dignity. Haley looked at the papers, her eyes widening. Ethan, she's serious. What do we do? Ethan snatched the pen from my hand and threw it into the dirt. I'm not signing this garbage. You're having a hysterical episode because you're jealous. I've had enough of your childish tantrums today. Get in the car. We're going home. No, I said softly. You're going to Haley's. Or wherever else you want to go. I am going to the hospital to treat my leg, and then I am going home to pack my things. I didn't wait for his reply. I turned around and began to walk back down the trail. Avery, stop right there. Ethan yelled from behind me. If you walk away right now, don't expect me to come chasing after you. I kept walking. The pain in my knee was blinding, each step feeling as if glass were grinding into my flesh. But the relief in my chest was even greater. With every step I took away from him, the suffocating weight that had crushed my lungs for the past year began to lift. I heard Haley's soft voice behind him. Ethan, let her go. She's just trying to scare you. Her leg is bleeding, she won't go far. Come on, my hand really hurts. Ethan didn't follow me. When I reached the campus gates, I sat on a stone step and called an Uber. As I waited, I looked down at my hands. They were shaking, not from sadness, but from the sudden, overwhelming realization of my own freedom. At the hospital, the doctor cleaned and disinfected my scraped knee. It required 4 stitches. How did you manage to get a laceration this deep and just walk on it? The nurse asked, looking at me with pity. The friction from your jeans made it much worse. I didn't feel it at first, I whispered. And it was the truth. When your heart is breaking, your body has a way of numbing the physical pain just to help you survive. After getting bandaged, I took a taxi back to our apartment on the east side. The apartment was quiet. It was the home we had bought together 2 years ago, filled with furniture we had spent weekends picking out. I remember how excited Ethan had been when we finally signed the deed. He had carried me over the threshold, promising that this would be our sanctuary. Now, it just felt like a cold museum of dead promises. I wasted no time. I pulled out 2 large suitcases and began packing. I didn't take everything, only my clothes, my personal documents, my laptop, and a few small items that actually belonged to me. I left behind the jewelry he had bought me, the expensive bags, and the framed photos of us smiling on vacations. When I reached the kitchen, I saw the Easy Pass statement still taped to the fridge. I peeled it off, folded it neatly, and placed it on the dining table. Next to it, I placed my house keys and a copy of the divorce papers, which I had already signed. Just as I closed my second suitcase, the front door clicked open. Ethan walked in, smelling of tobacco and Haley's heavy perfume. He looked exhausted, his tie loosened and his hair messy. He expected to find me crying in the bedroom or waiting in the kitchen to start an argument. Instead, he saw the 2 suitcases standing by the door. He froze. His gaze drifted from the luggage to me, and finally to the dining table where the keys and papers lay. What is this? His voice was dangerously quiet. I told you. I'm leaving, I said, pulling on my coat. Avery, stop this nonsense. Ethan slammed the door shut behind him. You actually went and got papers drawn up? Who was the lawyer? Is this some joke to threaten me? You think because you got a little scratch on your knee, you can throw away our marriage? A little scratch? I let out a dry, humorless laugh. I have 4 stitches in my knee because you started the car while I was trying to get in. You didn't even bother to ask if I was okay. You were too busy worrying about Haley's peach slicing accident. Ethan's face flushed with a mix of anger and embarrassment. I told you, she was bleeding. She was panicking. You're a grown woman, Avery. You've always been independent and strong. Haley isn't like you. She's fragile. She needs help with basic things. Because I am strong, I deserve to be treated like trash? Because she acts weak, she gets to take my husband, my car, and my dignity. I shook my head, feeling a profound sense of exhaustion. I used to be fragile too, Ethan. Do you remember? When we first started dating, I was terrified of the dark. You used to leave the hallway light on every single night. You used to hold my hand when we walked past construction sites, because the noise scared me. I looked at him, his face suddenly pale. I didn't wake up one day and decide to be strong. Your emotional absence forced me to be. I had to learn to handle everything on my own because every time I called you, you were busy with her. Every time I needed a husband, you were playing hero to your ex-girlfriend. She is not just my ex-girlfriend. She is my childhood friend. Ethan shouted, his voice cracking. We grew up together. Her family helped mine when we had nothing. I owe her. Then go repay her with your life, Ethan. Just don't use my marriage as currency to do it. I grabbed the handles of my suitcases. Ethan stepped in front of me, blocking the door. His eyes were wide, a sudden panic flickering deep within them. This wasn't the reaction he expected. Usually when we fought, I would cry, he would ignore me, and eventually I would apologize just to keep the peace. He had grown comfortable with my compliance. He thought my love for him was an infinite resource he could draw from without ever replenishing. Avery, don't do this, he said, his voice dropping to a plea. We've been together for 8 years. You can't just throw all of that away over a misunderstanding. Okay, I admit, I've been spending too much time helping Haley lately. But she's going through a hard time. Once she gets settled, things will go back to normal. I promise. There is no normal to go back to, I said softly. The man who loved me is gone. And the woman who loved you is tired. I still love you, he cried, reaching out to grab my shoulders. I stepped back, avoiding his touch. If this is how you love someone, Ethan, then I'd rather be hated. Please step aside. No. I'm not letting you leave. We're going to sit down, we're going to talk, and we're going to tear these stupid papers up. I looked at him, my expression blank. If you don't let me leave, I will call the police. I have the medical report from the hospital detailing the injury caused by your car. I also have the dashcam footage I saved from your car last week, showing you driving recklessly while arguing with me. Do you want to find out how that looks in a divorce court? Ethan's hands dropped to his sides. He stared at me as if looking at a complete stranger. You planned this, he whispered. You've been plotting this behind my back. I didn't plan to be betrayed, Ethan. I just prepared myself for the reality you chose to create. I pushed past him, opened the door, and wheeled my suitcases out into the hallway. The door clicked shut behind me. For the first time in 8 years, I didn't look back. I moved into a small, furnished studio apartment near my office. It was tiny compared to our spacious East Side home, but it was quiet, clean, and entirely mine. There was no scent of heavy perfume, no lingering tension, and no waiting up until 2 a.m. for a husband who was helping a friend. My lawyer, Mr. Vance, was exceptionally efficient. Within 3 days, he had drafted a comprehensive asset division proposal. Because Ethan and I had bought our apartment together and both contributed to our savings, I was entitled to exactly half of our shared assets. Furthermore, Mr. Vance had uncovered something I hadn't even realized. Avery, Mr. Vance said during our meeting, sliding a stack of bank statements across the desk. Over the past 10 months, your husband has made multiple large transfers from your joint savings account to an unknown account. The total amount comes to $45,000. My heart sank, though I shouldn't have been surprised. Whose account is it? We ran a check. It belongs to Haley Lynn. I closed my eyes, a cold numbness settling over me. $45,000. That was money we had saved for our future children's college fund. We had both agreed to tighten our belts, skipping vacations and eating out less, just to build that safety net. While I was cutting coupons and packing leftovers for lunch, Ethan was transferring thousands of dollars to Haley. Can we get this back? I asked, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. Yes, Mr. Vance replied with a reassuring smile. Under the law, this constitutes a dissipation of marital assets. Since these transfers were made without your knowledge or consent for non-marital purposes, the court will deduct this entire amount from his share of the remaining assets. In short, he will have to reimburse you $22,500 out of his half of the apartment's equity. Good, I said. Let's proceed with that. That evening, my phone rang. It was Ethan. I didn't want to answer, but I knew we had to communicate eventually to get the papers signed. Avery. His voice sounded raw and exhausted. Where are you staying? Please tell me you're safe. I'm safe, Ethan. Have you reviewed the divorce papers? A heavy silence stretched over the line. Avery, please. Let's not do this through lawyers. Let's meet up. Just the two of us. I went to the wooden box today. He paused, his voice cracking. I looked at all the sticky notes you left me over the years. I spent the whole night reading them. I realized how much I've neglected you. I was wrong. I've been a terrible husband. But please, give me one more chance.
Eva blocked Haley.
I told her we can't speak anymore. I listened to his trembling voice, but my heart felt absolutely nothing. It was like listening to a stranger read a script. It's too late, Ethan, I said. You only realized my value once the convenience of my presence was gone. You miss the girl who cleaned your house, cooked your meals, and tolerated your disrespect. You don't miss me. That's not true. I love you, Avery. I've always loved you. If you loved me, you wouldn't have transferred $45,000 of our shared savings to Haley's account, I said coldly. The silence on the other end was deafening. How? How did you? He stammered. My lawyer has all the bank statements, Ethan. Every single dollar you took from our future to fund her lifestyle. That money was meant for our future. You gave it to her. Avery, listen to me. Ethan pleaded frantically. Her business was failing. She was going to lose her apartment. I couldn't just watch her go homeless. It was a loan, I swear. She's going to pay it back. She can pay it back to you, I said. Because the court is going to deduct that entire amount from your share of our apartment. You will be paying me back every single cent. Avery, please don't do this to me. If you take half of the apartment's value and deduct that money, I'll have to sell the place. I won't have enough to pay the mortgage on my own. That is your problem, Ethan. Not mine. I hung up the phone and blocked his number. Over the next 2 weeks, Ethan tried everything to reach me. He sent his friends to my office, but my colleagues politely turned them away. He wrote me long, rambling emails detailing our past memories, promising he would change, promising he would take me on a second honeymoon. I deleted every single one without replying. One evening, as I was leaving my office building, a figure stepped out from the shadows near the parking lot. It wasn't Ethan. It was Haley. She looked different. The playful, fragile girl from the college campus was gone. Instead, her face was pale, her eyes hollow, and she looked incredibly anxious. Avery, she called out, stepping into my path. I stopped, keeping my distance. What do you want, Haley? Can we please talk? Just for 5 minutes, she pleaded, reaching out to touch my sleeve. I stepped back, avoiding her. We have nothing to talk about. Please, she cried, tears instantly welling in her eyes. Ethan is going crazy. He's drinking every night, he won't see me, and he's threatening to sue me to get the $45,000 back. I don't have that money, Avery. If he sues me, I'll go bankrupt. I looked at her, feeling a strange sense of irony. You spent my money, Haley. You wore expensive clothes, bought designer bags, and lived in a luxury apartment on my husband's dime. Did you really think there would be no consequences? I didn't know it was your joint savings. She lied, her voice rising in panic. Ethan told me it was his personal money. He said he wanted to help me. Avery, you're a good person. You've always been so kind. Please, tell your lawyer to drop the claim. If you do, I promise I will never see Ethan again. I'll move to another city. I looked at this girl who had spent the last year systematically destroying my peace, mocking my pain, and flaunting her hold over my husband. You think you have leverage here, Haley? I asked softly. You think I care if you see Ethan or not? I am divorcing him. Who he sleeps with, who he gives money to, and who he ruins his life for is no longer my concern. If he sues you, that is between the two of you. But you're the one forcing him to do it, she screamed, her mask finally slipping. Her face twisted with resentment. If you hadn't demanded half of the assets, he wouldn't be in this mess. Why can't you just let him go quietly? Why do you have to ruin both of our lives? I didn't ruin your lives, I said, my voice dropping to a whisper. You did this to yourselves. You wanted my husband? You can have him. But he comes with the debt, the guilt, and the ruined reputation. Enjoy your prize, Haley. I walked past her, ignoring her screams of frustration behind me. The final divorce hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in late November. The weather was freezing, a light snow beginning to dust the city streets. I wore a tailored wool coat and a pair of dark slacks. My knee had healed completely, leaving only a thin, silver scar, a quiet reminder of the day I finally stood up for myself. When I entered the mediation room, Ethan was already sitting there with his lawyer. He looked terrible. He had lost weight, his cheekbones sharp, and his eyes sunken. When he saw me walk in, a spark of hope flared in his eyes, but it died the moment he saw my cold, indifferent expression. We sat across from each other. Mr. Vance laid out the final settlement agreement. According to the terms, Mr. Vance announced, the marital home will be sold. After the remaining mortgage is paid off, the equity will be split 50-50. However, the sum of $45,000, which was dissipated by Mr. Miller without Mrs. Miller's consent, will be deducted entirely from Mr. Miller's share and transferred to Mrs. Miller. Ethan's lawyer sighed and leaned over to whisper to Ethan, It's a fair deal under the circumstances. If we go to trial, the judge will look at the bank transfers and the dashcam evidence, and it could get much worse. You might end up paying her legal fees, too. Ethan didn't seem to hear his lawyer. He was staring at me. Avery, he said, his voice trembling. Is there really no other way? We can sell the apartment. I'll give you all the money. Just don't sign the papers. Give me a year. Let me prove myself to you. Ethan, sign the papers, I said, my voice flat. Why are you being so cold? He asked, a tear finally escaping his eye and rolling down his cheek. We loved each other for 8 years. How can you just turn off your feelings like a switch? I didn't turn them off like a switch, Ethan, I said, looking him straight in the eyes. You spent a year slowly turning them off, one disrespectful act at a time. Every time you ignored my calls, every time you lied to me, every time you prioritized her over me, you took a little piece of my love and threw it away. I leaned forward slightly. On that trail, when you used my sketchbook, the one thing you once swore to protect with your life, as a seat cushion for Haley's dress, you threw away the very last piece. There is nothing left. I don't hate you, Ethan. I just feel absolutely nothing for you. Hearing the complete lack of emotion in my voice, the final illusion of hope died in his eyes. He realized, with absolute certainty, that he had lost me forever. With a shaking hand, Ethan picked up the pen. He signed his name on the dotted line. As soon as his pen lifted from the paper, I stood up. I didn't shake his hand. I didn't say goodbye. I turned and walked out of the room, the sound of my heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. 1 year later, the air was crisp and cool, just like the day I had walked away from my marriage. I was sitting in a cozy, sunlit cafe on the north side, sketching in a brand new leather-bound notebook. My life had changed completely. I had received my share of the divorce settlement, which allowed me to put a down payment on a beautiful, historic townhouse of my own. I had also received a promotion at work, and for the first time in my life, I was investing my time and energy entirely into myself. I had started painting again, taking weekend trips to the coast, and rediscovering the girl I used to be before I became a ghost in my own marriage. My phone buzzed on the table. It was a text from an old college friend, Sarah. Hey, Avery. Just wanted to check in on you. Also, did you hear about Ethan? I hesitated for a moment, then typed back. No, what happened? He had to sell the apartment to pay you back and cover his debts. He moved into a tiny place on the outskirts of the city. He and Haley tried to make it work, but apparently, they fought constantly about money. He sued her to get his savings back, and she ended up moving away to another state to avoid him. They're completely toxic now. Everyone from our college circle has stopped talking to him because of how he treated you. I stared at the screen for a moment. A year ago, this information might have brought me a sense of bitter satisfaction. But now, as I sat in the warmth of the cafe, looking at the beautiful, vibrant sketch of the city street in front of me, I felt nothing but a quiet, peaceful indifference. Their tragedy was no longer my story. I locked my phone, slid it into my purse, and picked up my charcoal pencil. I took a deep breath of the fresh, clean air, smiled to myself, and continued to draw my own beautiful, bright future.